History doesn't remember the people who quit. It remembers the ones who refused to stay down. This is the story of a mindset that echoes through every failure, every setback, every moment when the world says it's over. And the answer is simple: never give up. Because the truth is, success isn't built in the moments when everything works. Success is forged in the moments when everything falls apart. When the critics are loud, when the odds are stacked against you, when people are waiting for you to fail. In those moments, there are only two choices: step back or step forward with relentless determination. The message is clear. Persistence beats pressure. Resilience beats resistance. And belief beats doubt. This isn't just about politics. It's about power, resilience, and the unbreakable mindset of refusing to surrender. Because the people who change the world follow one rule above all others: they never give up. The moment a man decides he will not quit, something powerful shifts inside him. It is not just about determination, it is about identity. Men are wired to move toward challenge, not away from it. When pressure rises and obstacles appear, the instinct to prove capability awakens. From a man's perspective, refusing to quit is not only about success, it is about protecting dignity, purpose, and self-respect. The fight itself becomes proof that he is still standing. Women see this differently, yet they recognize the same force. From a woman's perspective, the man who refuses to quit signals reliability and strength. It communicates that when storms arrive, financial, emotional, or personal, he will not disappear when things become uncomfortable. The refusal to quit becomes more than persistence. It becomes a message of stability. It tells the people around him that pressure will not make him abandon the mission or the people who depend on him. But the deeper truth is that refusing to quit is rarely loud. Most of the time, it is quiet discipline repeated daily. It is showing up again after embarrassment, after criticism, after failure. A man who continues forward despite those moments is not simply chasing victory. He is building the internal belief that setbacks do not define him. And that belief quietly reshapes how both men and women respond to his presence. Pressure reveals what comfort tries to hide. When a man faces intense pressure, he is forced to make a decision about who he truly is. In calm moments, confidence can be borrowed from circumstances. But under pressure, when expectations rise, when criticism grows, when failure becomes public, a man either shrinks or rises. Many men discover their leadership only when the weight becomes unavoidable, because pressure activates the instinct to take responsibility, to stand firm, and to move forward even when certainty disappears. Men respond to pressure with a deep internal challenge. It becomes less about the external problem and more about proving to themselves that they can carry the weight. The psychology is simple but powerful. When a man survives pressure, his sense of capability expands. What once looked impossible begins to feel manageable. Every difficult moment strengthens the belief that he can endure more than he thought. Women often observe this transformation differently. From a woman's perspective, pressure exposes the man she can rely on when life becomes unpredictable. Strength under pressure signals protection, consistency, and emotional stability. When a man remains focused while chaos surrounds him, it communicates that he will not collapse when responsibility grows heavier. And that steadiness becomes the quiet foundation that people naturally begin to follow. Bold visions always attract loud criticism. The moment a man chooses to think bigger than the limits around him, resistance begins to appear. It happens because bold ideas challenge comfort, and comfort is something many people protect fiercely. For a man driven by purpose, criticism becomes an unavoidable companion. Psychologically, this forces him to develop thicker skin, because every ambitious direction he chooses will invite doubt from those who cannot yet see what he sees. Men often experience criticism as a direct challenge to their competence and authority. When others question their ideas, it can feel like an attack on their ability to lead. Yet this pressure creates an important psychological shift. A man who continues forward despite criticism learns to anchor his confidence internally instead of depending on approval. The louder the doubt becomes, the more he must clarify his own belief in the vision he carries. Women frequently interpret this dynamic through a different lens. From a woman's perspective, the way a man handles criticism reveals emotional strength more than ambition. Anyone can speak boldly when support is guaranteed, but the man who remains composed while being questioned shows stability and conviction. When he listens without collapsing and moves forward without bitterness, it signals maturity and resilience, qualities that naturally earn respect and influence among both men and women. Every setback forces a man to confront a question he cannot avoid. Will this moment define him or refine him? When plans collapse and progress disappears, the first instinct is often frustration or doubt. Yet, within a man's psychology, setbacks awaken a deeper drive. The need to rebuild, to prove that failure is not the final chapter. The struggle itself becomes a test of identity, because men often measure themselves not by the absence of failure, but by their ability to stand up again when the fall is visible. Men process setbacks acts as challenges to their competence and control. When something breaks down, a career move, a business decision, a personal goal, it can feel like the ground beneath their confidence has shifted. But this is also where resilience begins to form. Each comeback strengthens the internal belief that temporary defeat does not erase capability. The man who rises after setbacks starts trusting his own endurance more than the outcome of any single moment. Women tend to observe setbacks through the lens of consistency and character. From a woman's perspective, the critical moment is not the fall, but the response that follows. When a man rebuilds without blaming others, without retreating into silence or anger, it demonstrates emotional steadiness. His willingness to rise again communicates persistence, and that persistence signals reliability in the face of uncertainty and pressure. Every victory begins long before the world ever sees it. It begins in the mind of a man who decides that the outcome is possible before there is evidence to support it. Men often build their confidence through internal battles first, through quiet decisions that they will not surrender to doubt, fear, or hesitation. The mind becomes the first battlefield, because if a man loses there, no external strategy can rescue him. But when he wins internally, even uncertainty begins to look like opportunity. Men naturally tie their sense of success to their ability to control direction. When a man believes he can influence the outcome, his behavior changes. He takes risks others avoid. He speaks with conviction when others hesitate. This mental shift is powerful because belief reshapes action. A man who believes he can win begins to move differently, more decisively, more boldly, more persistently. And those behaviors compound over time into real momentum. Women often notice the psychological signals of this inset before they notice the results themselves. From a woman's perspective, the man who believes in his direction carries a certain calm intensity. His confidence is not loud arrogance, but quiet certainty. That certainty communicates stability and leadership because it shows that his motivation is not dependent on temporary approval or immediate success. Mental victory also protects a man from the weight of criticism and failure. When belief is built internally, external opinions lose their ability to control his direction. The mind becomes the anchor that holds steady when circumstances change, allowing him to continue moving forward, even when the path is uncertain. Opposition is inevitable the moment a man decides to pursue something meaningful. The larger the goal, the stronger the resistance becomes. Obstacles appear in many forms: criticism, doubt, rejection, and moments when progress feels painfully slow. Yet persistence changes the equation. While opposition relies on temporary force, persistence relies on time. And time has a unique way of rewarding those who refuse to stop moving forward. Men often interpret opposition as a direct challenge to their capability. When resistance appears, it triggers a psychological response rooted in proving strength and competence. Instead of seeing opposition as a signal to retreat, many men begin to view it as confirmation that the path they are walking matters. The more they persist through resistance, the stronger their internal confidence becomes, because endurance transforms uncertainty into experience. Persistence also reshapes how others perceive leadership. From a man's perspective, continuing forward despite opposition builds credibility among peers. People start to recognize the difference between temporary enthusiasm and real commitment. The man who keeps showing up through criticism, through setbacks, through long G periods without recognition begins to stand apart from those who lose momentum when things become uncomfortable. Women often interpret persistence through the lens of reliability and emotional strength. From a woman's perspective, the man who continues forward under pressure demonstrates stability that goes beyond ambition. Persistence signals that he will not abandon responsibility when circumstances grow difficult. It communicates patience, discipline, and a steady sense of direction. Over time, opposition naturally weakens because most resistance is fueled by emotion, doubt, or temporary momentum. Persistence, however, grows stronger with repetition. Each day a man continues his effort, the gap between resistance and endurance widens, allowing consistent action to gradually overpower the forces that once tried to stop him.